All right, guys, welcome to part 2 of Coaching with Maynarde, which we're going to put a mark down to make sure Helix knows where to cut this. Thank you, YouTube's autoplay, for I shouldn't have played the first song. That was probably copyright as well. I'm a dummy. But start of coaching part 2. God damn it. That's so annoying. Coaching Maynarde. 2 parts, cut off when music starts. I'm a dummy for playing that. Thank you so much for the support, though, chat. I really appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much. Much love, much love, much love. So what was I saying? We're talking about trying to build those buildings. Yeah, try to leave space for the add-on on every map. It's a tiny thing, but like these tiny things that give us the 2% is going to make such a big diff in the long run.
So just for clarity, quick question. So you mean where my barracks is right now? Don't lift it and move it?
I would say build it 2 spaces. I would build it 2 spaces to the left originally because I like to have both depots. I don't like having the reactor in the wall off. It creates a weird, you've got to zigzag around to get in and out of your base. I prefer the 2 depots. I think just start at 2 hexes to the left. With space for add-on and try to line up other buildings neatly in 2 rows. Just a small thing, but really does add up. So other than that, let's check. So I really think if you see the SCV, we should have already started the factory with a second SCV or had one going over. Because if he kept fighting you there, that's one of those moments where we're kind of setting ourselves up ready to get tilted. It's like every Zerg player going to take their hatch and there's a probe there. And they attack move the probe rather than immediately going to the 3rd base, building a spawning pool, spending their lava. And then they attack the probe. They finally get it to red hit points. The probe puts down a pylon and goes away. And the Zerg's on 700 minerals and there's steam coming out of their ears and they're like, fuck you, this is unfair. And it's like, you know they're going to do this. Always prepare for it, right? So I have a policy of always prepare for the block or the worst thing because otherwise we set ourselves up to get tilted from something that's so inconsequential. So it can really struggle. Factory goes down, reactor goes down. We pulled 3 guys off gas this game rather than 2. Let's try to just keep it consistent so it's always the same.
That was just because I was late to pulling them off.
Oh, okay.
One of the minerals.
Fair enough. That's a logical adjustment. I'm going to go CC high ground because we're like, what the fuck is he doing?
Yeah, I didn't. I was like, I was misreading this one.
That's fair enough.
Because of the lack of scouting.
Yeah. So, yeah, we do kind of put ourselves in that blind spot, right? Which is rough because we have no info at all. So whenever you're in this sort of scenario, if you ever are unsure, I think another rule, leave your SCV hidden behind their natural whenever you're unsure. Loop the entire main base. If unsure what it is, leave SCV behind their natural. No one ever clears out behind their natural. It'll give invaluable follow-up info. So if and it's like, oh, he did just expand. You see that coming down there like a minute, 2 minutes later. Or at this point, you just go, ooh, what the fuck is he doing? You grab that SCV, you mineral walk it into his main, and you go, oh, there's an expansion, a Hellion, factory sub. Oh, it's a normal build. Okay, let's not worry about anything. So whenever something's really weird, I love the work hidden behind the natural. I think it's super useful.
So my scouting SCV, you mean? Just keep it there.
Yeah, just keep it there. If you're really confused by what the fuck you're seeing, just have that as like a okay, this will rule that out. So just visualizing, that should be a tank, not a cyclone building, because we only need 1. Just trying to remember that idea of like, even as you're reviewing more replays, you're already thinking about the new changes and you're visualizing that change. He's a bit of annoying here. We didn't lower our depot, which is why it took so long to get down there. But we are going to try to continue.
That's something that consistently happens with me is I only leave 1 depot up.
Just like by accident? Just because you forget? Or
just because I'm used to like the other matchups. I tend to only have 1 like TVZ and TVP. I usually am very, very terrified of something running past and getting into my main, but I know when TVT is like, doesn't matter. But
yeah, I always like to build this depot first as well, by the way, because the depot that's raised is making it so much longer for you to get in and out of your base. Even your SCVs having to walk quite a few extra seconds. So I always like to build this depot first because it's the second depot that you forget to raise and lower usually. It is for me anyway. I assume it's the same for you. So I like to build that depot first. And if I'm going to leave one up, it's the other one. Because we want to have the quickest ability to reinforce between our bases. Otherwise, it can get real awkward. Even like a Liberator sieges up your main and your Marines have to like snake around your production to get up there. It can kill, 5 more workers or something.
Right.
Oh, big thanks to the subs, guys. Much love. Appreciate it. Okay, but from here... Okay, so our Raven's a little late.
Yeah, I didn't have enough gas.
Your gas was late because your command center was on the high ground. So that's like always going to happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do we prioritize ravens or tanks? If we ever are gas starved, what's the more important unit for you?
I would say probably tanks, but the Raven for me, like I have had my bacon saved. That's on brand because of you being pig and all. But I like having the Raven up because I've died so many times to just like a random early game push where the Raven could have like not only the detected a Banshee and stopped that, or it could have just locked down a tank, or an extra auto turret could have been beefy enough to hold on.
Yeah. I mean, a tank doesn't gain value over time, right? Spellcaster does. So I think that's a simple rule. Just say, all right, if you've got to choose the Raven, but you're still going to be building the tank. It's only a small delay. It's just the earlier we get those Ravens, the more time they get to get maxed energy, right? So I think that's a good rule. I think stick with that. Mm-hmm. It's just in this game, we didn't apply that rule, even though you think about it, just because you were kind of like, oh, wait, what? I don't have enough gas, right? But now you know in future, oh, okay, if command center gets delayed, I'm probably going to have to delay my first or second, probably my second tank just a little bit, make sure the Ravens are non-stop building.
There's a hockey snafu there where I just sort of had a bunch of army units going in the middle of the map, and I wanted to break them off. I wanted to have the Cyclones only, and those Marines are meant to be on like attack paths that are with the Cyclones. So that's where I was at with that.
Okay. Yeah, not having Cyclones in position when this BC teleports in is going to make things a little harder, but we've got so many Marines, it should still be relatively easy to take care of it.
Sure, it's a funny word.
You're smashing your opponent economically right now, right? You are
Yeah,
way
actually,
ahead.
Even though I got supply blocked, the build went much better in this game than later on, which is weird because this is one of my first games. And I'm building too many depots at the moment, actually. There's the BC.
Did we just run both Cyclones in? We ran a Cyclone in. Why did we?
Why?
Yeah.
Coffee hadn't kicked in yet? I'm not too sure.
Something weird happened.
I think I send my Cyclones to
you built
natural and they just die.
Oh yeah, don't ever do that. Yeah, that's always a bad move. We've learned that the hard way. Never poke with Cyclones. And I don't even like to leave them on the map anymore because I'm always not looking and they just push out and kill them both before I react. So, I mean, having only one Cyclone is weird, but you built 3 Cyclones this game, but you had no idea. So that's just, yeah, I mean, we always want it to be 1 because that's so much gas. But yeah, throwing away those 2 Cyclones is real unfortunate. And I mean, we never fixed that Marine map vision, which is real unfortunate as well. Because if we had that Marine map vision, we'd just be a little bit more calm here. But let's see how we go. So you don't have any control group set up when this hits you. You have a Raven on control group 2, which it looks like you're about to send across the map to harass. You got a Raven and a Viking and 2 Vikings on the bottom.
There was no intention at any point of going out and harassing with those things. So that's probably a miss rally or a misclick.
I think you're looking to intercept drops. I think you're thinking, oh, if a drop comes, this is going to be well set up, which is right, but they're not even on a control group. So you can't even bring these units back without F2ing, which is the problem, right?
Which I do, and I do F2 here because everything's spread out. I'm like, oh, it's a battlecruiser, and I need my Ravens.
Yeah, I mean, 0 control groups until this happens, though. And then we go, we're boxing, now we go F2, control 1, A move. And we're building Vikings, we're building Marines. We're going to throw an interference matrix, which of course won't secure the kill. It'll just, reduce the damage.
I just wanted it to stop, to slow down.
But what about, I mean, the fact that we don't have any army on control groups worries me, because it means the moment you want to select your army at this stage of the game, you're always ruining your map vision. So it's kind of one of those things where it's like, well, like if you get surprised by anything, I imagine your map vision always just completely disappears.
Oh, I'm not looking at anything except for this BC right now. I promise you that. And then
But you're not doing anything to fight it. Like all your army's sitting behind your natural. So what's happened here? What's going on mechanically? Break it down.
Miscontrolled.
Yeah, but like, is it because you're used to having your Vikings on a different control group? Because you were microing 2 Vikings for some reason. I don't know what happened.
I think I know what happened here.
Yeah.
My F2 is actually unbound. So I clicked on the button to grab my army one time, and then I don't think I used it again.
Right. Okay. So basically, no control group habits, but F2 unbound. I mean, that's huge. That's massive, right? Because that's like, unbinding F2 is one of those things we want to do as an intermediary thing to improve that skill. But if we didn't have any of our army control, is this common or is this like the exception to the rule, not having your army control grouped at this point?
I normally do have control groups set up here. Like I normally have my Marines and tanks on 1 and my Ravens on 2. Like both my Ravens are on 2, my Vikings are on 5.
Oh, you have your Vikings separate from your Ravens? Why is that?
Just because I've found that I need to keep the Ravens usually like out of harm's way.
Okay. I mean, that works. I just find 3 control groups stressful to use, which is why I'd rather like either let my Ravens die sometimes or manually pull them back when I remember to. But I guess whatever works for you there. But yeah, we didn't have those control groups. So okay, so this is just one of those games where it's like, okay, and this was disastrous, right? Not having those control groups set up.
I leave in a second here just because I was sort of wanting to play another game where I didn't make as many mistakes, and the Ravens like just as up for an edgy, but I'm like, oh, I don't have any army. I'm checking my hotkeys and I can't get any army. I'm like, oh. So I just realized that, you know, my army was in the natural. I went, oh, shit, you know, I'm floating 1,000 minerals, and I just leave.
Okay.
So there it is.
Don't worry, there's always a rematch.
No control group habits, but F2 is unbound. So that's one of those things, not necessarily habits, but in this game. No control groups in this game. Keep an eye on that if that's a habit, because you might be setting up your control groups really late, only when you're going to move out. And the thing is, that means maybe you'll see a push coming and you go, oh, fuck, I got to set up my control groups, and that's stressful, right? If you're setting up your control groups as a push is moving to you or a harassment is hitting you, means you're 100% going to miss depots, miss upgrades, and fuck your macro up for that minute. Because you're both thinking about where's he pushing me, what's he pushing me, what's he harassing me with, which is like really complex kind of tactical considerations. And you're trying to organize your army when your army should already be moving to intercept, right? So things like depots, mules, SCVs, basic unit production, all that shit will get forgotten, and you will 100% every time do that. So you'll have to find some sort of reminder or system for remembering control groups. If this is a habit, remembering control groups and making sure this doesn't happen. But let's also consider if shit hits the fan, because I think you're playing at a level where you're playing against players where they've got a vastly different array of skills depending on your opponents, right? Some of them are going to be tactical masters, some are macro gods, but they have terrible micro, some have pretty good micro, like kind of half decent micro, half decent macro, but there's some big holes here and there. Some of them play really weird unit compositions that have big weaknesses. There's so many different things that can happen in a game of StarCraft, even at super high level. I think of someone like Puck as an example. So let's think about if shit hits the fan and we aren't control grouped. Remember to click select all army and hunt down the BC. So that's how we, if we're not organized and shit's spread everywhere and everything's crazy, just try to visualize next time there's a BC and we're feeling stressed, click that button above the minimap, move to the BC, continue doing what we're doing. And if we'd just done that would have been great.
When the BC first arrived, that's when I clicked the button and sent them down. That's why those units are still in the back of that natural, because
Yeah, but the thing is, we did it once, and then we didn't actually do it again. And your whole army's on 1. So remember to go, like, why weren't we going 1A? It's because you're trying to go 5A with your Vikings, and you're trying to grab your Raven on number 2 and bring it over. So you've got to remember, like, in that scenario, it was just you were playing as if your control groups were set up when they weren't. That's kind of what was happening there, right? So remember, you're manually just using 1 and manual control until you can organize. That's going to be the rule for that scenario. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, so I think one thing I want to talk about is floating minerals and macro mistakes, because you're making them a lot, but I actually don't think they're that big a problem at this stage of the game. So I think what would be more important is us staying in these games and practicing catching up on the spending and bouncing back from things having hit the fan. Because I think that's like the most important skill for any StarCraft player, is not can you keep your resources below 1 or even 2,000 is not that bad. I hit 2,000 all the time, minerals, right? But it's more about, can we quickly spend it in the minute following that, or will it just keep ballooning higher and higher and we can't kind of get back in control, right? Because that's where it's a problem, is if you hit 2k and then it becomes 2.5 and then it becomes 3k, it's bad. Whereas if we touch 2k and then we immediately start eating into that, adding the production, adding the upgrades, getting the depots, getting the units, and we kind of reassert control and get that bank back down, it's not that big a problem. It's when the bank just sits there and grows and grows and grows, right? So, I mean, I just want to make sure we have some sort of mental set play for when shit hits the fan economically. Okay, so shit hits the fan, the game's messy, you're floating money, there's been mistakes. How do you think you can kind of anchor yourself there? Because I think this is, in some ways, it's like the most valuable practice is getting back in position from these games. At the same time, I'm thinking out loud, right? At the same time, you are trying to get clean openings, so that's why you're idring these games a little bit, right? The opening was messy. I'm gonna leave.
They're unranked games, so I don't care. As well, like I'm in that sort of because of my like focused practice stuff. Like if I'm getting supply blocked all the time in a game, and I'm already frustrated with the game, I'll just be like, I'll just start a new one. So I'm very used to just leaving games because I'm just like not doing, I'm not doing the thing that I'm focusing trying to do that game. Like I'm like, I've already been caught by a drop when my focus today was to not get caught by drops, or I'm getting supply blocked, or I'm not spending my money, or I'm not keeping my minerals under 1,000 like I was intending to do this game. I've already started floating, so I'll leave because I don't.
Because you're not hitting like that. The goal is just to work on that thing. You're not hitting.
The goal is to work on that one thing. Yeah. So
do you think though it ends up kind of making it hard because, like, don't you think there's something to be said for okay, we made mistakes, but let's recover this game? Because I feel like there's so much room for mistakes in StarCraft, and everyone plays so many chaotic, crazy styles at the moment. So like it's often you're going to encounter something you've never seen before, and like there's always a certain amount of mistakes that are going to happen, right? So I guess what I'm worried about is that we're getting a bit too you're getting a little bit too inside your own head with like, I made the mistakes, I fucked it. Whereas I think there's just as much validity to, okay, I made these mistakes, let's recover from them and see if we can hit them just right for the rest of this game. Like, what do you reckon?
This is purely just something I would do in unranked. If this was a ranked game, I would stick around and I would fight back.
Yeah, I mean, whether or not it's ranked or unranked, though, right? I'm just saying, like, for our practice, right? Because either way, we should have the same mindset, ranked and unranked. Okay. I get sometimes we have different accounts for different focuses, but like, what I'm saying is, like, is it actually bad practice to leave these games? Like, does this undermine our mindset as a player? Because like instinctively I say yes. I think it does undermine our kind of ability to roll with the punches if we're kind of seeking too sterile a situation, whereas I think working on that mechanic in the fucked up situation is just as valuable as working on it from the clean opening and the sterile situation, if that makes sense. I don't know. What do you reckon?
Well, yeah, I'm just actually, I still had your Twitch chat open. I was like alt tabbing to try and get the document up to see where you were at, and I just saw in chat like I'm not leaving games that aren't perfect. It's just more like I have this mentality. So people that watch my stream on the regular will know if I do a focus call stream, I'm focusing on one thing in particular. I'm used to leaving. So it's something I should, like, I completely agree that it's something that I should deprogram if I want to, I don't leave games that aren't, like, I'm fucking basically platinum, all right? Like, there is no perfection in my games. The most perfect part of my game is I start with 12 workers in a command center, just like every other player. But then after that point, stuff, shit hits the fan, like you wrote in the document, It's more like I'm in a, it's almost like a muscle memory thing. Because I've just done it so much.
Okay, so you're kind of on board with this idea of maybe we could just reprogram and just like try to get rid of that.
I actually completely agree with you. I'm just saying that you say, what do you talk to me about your thought process, etc. like that. I'm just telling you that my thought process in this game is it's unranked. I don't care. It's it's like my second game of the day or first game of the day. I don't remember what number game of the day this was. I'm just like, I don't care. There's plenty more ladder games for me out there. I'll just start up another one.
Okay, cool.
Literally where I was at. So
okay, awesome. Well, I think this is actually really valuable, right? Because it's one of those things where, it's like this whole idea, especially because like the games we're looking at as well. This is very, very specific to just had a week off, haven't touched the game, there's that rust, right?
Actually, more like 2 weeks, but yeah.
More like 2 weeks. It's even.
I basically just cast replays and played 2 games the week before it's holiday.
Exactly. Okay, so yeah, I mean, it's one of those things, right? It's like you've come back from a BlizzCon or something, right? It's one of these like big, or a Katowice, you've been away for a few weeks. And there's always like a certain amount of like, okay, we're just going to make more mistakes and things are going to be even sloppier than usual. But who knows? Maybe fighting it out there is even more valuable. So I think this is really cool. So let's plan this idea of how are we going to reprogram this. I think first of all, let's talk about what your mindset should be. The game's hit the fan. Shit's not going the way we want. I think it shouldn't be about winning from there, right? Because by definition, if shit's hit the fan, usually your win percentage has gone down quite a lot. Shouldn't be about winning, and that's probably a general rule we should probably all apply to all of our games. Though we have very limited success at it, right? Focus on the details of the game instead of the winning or losing or the points. It's always a work in progress. But can we spend the money? Can we spend the money, stop the supply blocks? Hit the blocks. Hit the depots, up the production. Recontrol the map, and hit a game plan, right? So what I mean by that, right, is maybe our TVT game plan is always to get up 3 bases, 5 barracks, 2 factories, starport. We're swapping it to medevac production or Vikings, whatever we prefer. And we basically say, cool, I've done most of my macro for this game. I've got my 2-2 started. I've got almost maxed of depots free. All I need to do is macro off my control groups by building units. Start scanning a lot, try to keep some good map vision, and go and start making some pushes happen. Get a forward siege up on a 4th. Oh, he's in position, rotate around, try to siege up on the 3rd. Get some movement going, get some pressure going, and then, that's your game plan, is a big 3-base tank bio push. It might be, it's a 2-2, 8 siege tank, Marine Marauder, medevac push against Zerg, right? Whatever the thing is for that matchup, right? And can we get back to the situation where we do that, and it's something we've done before, and we're back in control of the game? So it's more about, can we stop those mistakes from becoming worse and worse? Can we get back to our fundamentals, spend the money? Can we get back towards our game plan? And this might be something as well where maybe you're way behind, you just lost all your SCVs to a Protoss or something, and you say, okay, I am going to pull all my boys, go swap into only Marine production, rally everything across the map, grab my army, we're going to do one big all-in push, see if I can win the game. And if we do that and we execute it quite well, whether or not it works, we feel good because we've made the game close after being so behind after those zealots got in our mineral line or whatever it is.
I actually think that's my biggest issue with TVT is that I actually don't have a game plan.
Don't worry.
Like I literally have no game plan. Absolutely none. Like I'm not kidding. Like I don't know when I should push. I don't know how many supply I should do it. I have no game plan. I'm doing a build, and if I see an opening, I'll go for it. But I have a very bad tendency in TVT to just sit there and wait for something.
That's what a lot of people do. I mean, you're doing a super kind of, this is how pros play macro intensive TVT. And a big thing I do like to suggest to people is maybe not doing that.
That's actually why I was initially thinking of, like, you know how you said don't pick a new build order. I'm like, well, I kind of want to find one that's more aggressive.
Well, the good thing about Terran is you can do the exact same build order, but you can plug and play, right, with Terran builds. So you can take the first 4 minutes or 5 minutes of a build, and then you can just change that 3rd command center into a 2nd and 3rd barracks. It's the same build. It's just your 2nd and 3rd barracks comes down earlier. So take a look at your build order. Check this out. So what we're thinking of, it's a 3cc build. We could do the exact same opening. That there is 2nd and 3rd barracks going down, not a 3rd command center. And then we just go 4th and 5th barracks. And then we just basically do the same thing minus the 3rd base. Get a 4th gas, build tanks, build medevacs, build marines. Cool. Let's go attack. Let's go do some drippy drops, maybe a doom drop, siege forward, be aggressive. And behind that, we can take a 3rd and that sort of stuff potentially. But I like to think of it almost even as an all-in or something where we're pushing really hard. So you can do this off the exact same habits that we've talked about with refining that first 5 minutes. It's just changing the 3rd CC. And this is what you can do with all your Terran builds, which is the best part of Terran, because Terran's fucking hard. And too often we go, this is a 3cc build. This is how it works. If I want to do a more aggressive build, I need to change the whole opening. And it's like, we don't. A lot of the time you can take the exact same opening, swap the 3rd command center for barracks being down earlier, just works. Maybe a single engineering bay to get just a +1 attack or something like that. That often works really well with the 2 base all-in, right? Same as what you do against a Protoss if you were doing a 2 base all-in. So I think that's a really good way to think of it here. Where, okay, let's talk about build focus options. So there's a few different things we can do here. One is, is my keyboard working? It is. There we go. Lagged for a second. So build option number 2. 2 base all-in.
Where's
near the top.
okay, yeah.
Doom drop focus, mobility focus. Okay, and you could change that. You could make it a pure Viking focus. 2 base all in. But basically, what we want to do is swap 3rd CC out, and instead go 2nd and 3rd racks, 4th gas, single eBay, 4th and 5th barracks. And we can reorganize that. Maybe you go all 4 barracks at once just to get your production up super easily, you know, bam, 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 just get the 4 reactors going. Basically, it's just standard 5 racks, 1 fact, 1 port, pumping bio tank medevac, look for drops, doom drops, forward pushes, rotations between all of the above. So that there is a summary of thousands of games of knowledge in terms of what you'll actually need to do them all amazingly, right? You know, it's not like a doom drop is, well, just pick up your army and fly through the middle and you'll always find the soft spot in their base. Like, you're going to need games where you fly into the Viking Raven or these 3 Vikings on the top and get all your shit killed. You'll also have games where you boost right through them, don't hesitate, you lose 1 medevac, but you get sieged in the main and you win the game with it, right? Mm-hmm. That's like the natural thing. You might have games where you push into this 3rd base of your opponent on the low ground, and then they're there, but you manage to, at the same time, it was more of a fake. You've got a drop queued up that hits there, and a drop that's come through the top of the map to hit there. Do you see the exclamation marks?
Yep.
And it might be more of like, cool. And then when they go to respond to those drops, only then do we stim in the front with the rest of our army. Once we know they've sent way too much stuff to defend their main and natural, and no matter what, you know, they're going to start to fall apart in the chaos, and we just keep rallying Marine tank. And what this does is it allows us to take the fight to our opponent, because it's so hard to control 3 base plus TVET. Big defender's advantage on both sides, huge. Lots of siege units that are very micro-oriented. Lots of siege on siege, positioning-oriented. Lots of map control, lots of backstab potential, hard to cover your bases, hard to keep macroing. So that's a really nice way of simplifying things off the exact same opening. And I think that's you know, basically it. Do a big push, look for drops, doom drops, forward pushes, rotations between. So I think that's a great way of doing it, where we say, when we're learning this, 2 base or die trying. So when learning, 2 base or die trying. Once we're better at it, we can drop a 3rd as attacking.
So if I do this build option 2, when do I attack?
So that's a great decision. So what do you think would be some... You're building units of 3, 4, 5 barracks. You know, maybe your 4th and 5th barracks are still building add-ons. You're building tanks. You're building medevacs.
So around then, they'd be, if they're playing more quote-unquote normal, they'd be taking their 3rd?
Yeah.
So that, I guess. Like when...
So when do we do it? Yeah, I guess when their 3rd moves out would be one option, right? When they move out to take the 3rd. But if they don't go for that, you might want to hit even earlier, right? So... maybe when you have 4 medevacs, look for a doom drop. That's an option.
So just go straight into medevacs off of a star port.
I think that's a good way to do it. Yeah, if you're being really aggressive, and what the dream is there, is you've gone fast as 2nd and 3rd barracks, right? So you know how a lot of people do like a Raven tank kind of Viking push with unupgraded Marines?
Yep.
They come into you with that. Your 2nd and 3rd barracks is done early. You've got 10 more Marines, and your stim's just kicked in a bit faster than that. You get 2 medevacs. Doesn't matter if your medevacs die in the fight. You stim and you just kill all those tech units. Like, if they're not nicely sieged up and instantly dropping auto turrets, you catch them in the middle of the map. Like, you just like stim, like the Ravens disappear before they can drop any spells. If you click on them, the tanks get 1 volley off at most. Like, you just win the game very suddenly. Gives you, so your ability in the movement to control the map becomes way more powerful with that. You might find, but you know what? I still want to go 6 Vikings first and build 2 Ravens. So personally, at the moment, I'm still doing a 2 Raven build with 3 CC, right? But I actually don't build any Vikings. And this is quite common at pro level. I was talking to Uthermal the other day when he was on the Pig Show, and he was saying, oh, a lot of people are just going straight medevacs. And because people are getting pretty well timed second and third barracks and stim, and you're just keeping nonstop reactor marine production, you kind of go just pure auto turrets in a lot of these engagements. Lockdown sometimes, but a lot of times it's just auto turrets, it's stimming marines, it's, you know, having a slightly scarier, more mobile army that can get a forward position. So it's really nice. Cuddlebear in chat says, hey, if you're playing Vikingless, I reckon don't take a third gas that quick. So that's a super advanced thing. We don't want to do that. That's too nitpicky for us. Great advice for a GM player, though. Great advice. Good to have GM Terrans hanging out in chat.
No shortage of those.
Yeah.
Advice from, yeah. I appreciate it, Cuddlebear.
All right, man. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the third gas, I think I might keep because it helps me get those Ravens out still, which I still want. Mm-hmm. Because when I get the reactor,
exactly.
When I get the reactor on the starport, that's like after I get my Ravens anyway, because I do the switcheroo.
So you'd have to cut too much tank production if you didn't have that third gas. If you wanted to get the Ravens,
that too. So with because I'm not GM in game, but I'm GM in Twitch like everyone else is. I'm going to just tell you, Cuddlebear, that
you're wrong.
Would affect my Cuddlebear.
I'm going to tell you, Cuddlebear, you're wrong. No.
Cuddlebear. My Twitch chat GM, I'm going to tell you right now.
It's like, Cuddlebear's like, but I'm legit pro player. We love you, Cuddle. We love you. Thanks for dropping by, man. D-Man, thanks for the 7 months tier for the tier 1. We could play a game if you want. But basically, I think there's multiple areas you can focus on as a player. I think we should probably finish up here and just kind of leave you with an idea of, wait, what can we take out of this? If we're going to summarize this session, and then we can do a follow-up one in a week or two and actually, you know, really go deeper into some of this stuff, because we've talked about so many things.
I would love to do this regularly if it's possible with you. I would love.
Only if you do your homework, Maynard. You must earn it. You must earn it by doing hard homework. So, you know, I'd love to do it more as well. So tons of practice on the little mechanical habits, okay? So how are we going to do that? Very simple. You can practice one build order a day pre-stream. Would be great for 10 minutes, 5-10 minutes, and focus on 2 to 3 mechanical habits, okay? So what could that be? What's a list? Off the top of your head, I'll write 1 or 2 to start. So control grouping army. Whilst you're building up, not just once you're at 10 minutes. So that's one. What else pops into your mind? Little mechanical things.
Yeah, I think I've been losing a lot of battles due to miss macros, and control grouping army is definitely like up in the forefront of my brain. Mm-hmm. Having my build really comfortable, like I would rather just reword that sentence. Being really comfortable with the builds, to the point where I'm not like getting supply blocked or floating money at stupid moments.
Okay, so some of the little things that lead to that, right, is queuing SCVs, right? That's gonna help. I can spell.
Shift clicking my stuff more often. You know, I don't shift queue much.
Yeah. So shift queuing SCVs back to mining after. What about chunking as well? So, for instance, what was it? Second Raven is when you start building depots, right?
Second Raven, third depot, I think was the fourth depot.
Plus fourth, and we're going to call that's the depot builder, right? That's the guy who just basically hangs out and will build depots for the rest of the game from then on.
Bob the Builder, SCV.
Bob the Builder. So control grouping army. Even tiny things. Remember, we mentioned quite a few small ones. Queuing depot SCV to scout. Queuing SCV from factory to build CC, right? Queuing.
If I'm not worrying about doing those things manually, then I have more APM to do things that are more useful.
Queue SCV from the scout to circle enemy base and then returns, so that it's automatically, you know, doing a full circle to see any barracks in the corner of their main, sees both gases, and we don't need to keep looking at it. So basically just doing more and more planning ahead, trying to build this in so it's automatic, and hopefully it'll happen while we're reading chat is the dream. We can get to Hero Marine level where we're like killing 6k Protosses whilst reading chat for 90% of the time. He barely looks at the screen.
Honestly, going big Gabe is greedy for me. I'd be happy with Upper Tree Zelda to beat 5k players while still being able to read chat. That I would be very happy with.
First time you're naked with a woman, she's
Aim for the moon, land on the Zelda. Seems like a good policy. Land up a tree, yeah. Oh, damn. Thank you for the support, guys. Waterdrop, Darix, Ariel. I don't know what's gotten into everybody, but I really appreciate all the support. Thank you so much, guys. Really, much love. Tons of practice on the little mechanic, but please, everybody, do show Maynard some love. You're going to be streaming for a bit longer.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna play a couple games.
All right, we'll send you guys over to Maynard in a minute. For now, let's just quickly finish up this homework list. So, okay, lots of mechanical habits. Simply practicing a build order in an empty custom game off stream, just for the first 5 to 10 minutes, and focus on 2 or 3 of those mechanical habits at a time. You can't. That's too many things, right? What I wrote there, and I'm sure there's more than that. If you can go down through the list. If you can review this list, review all these notes off stream tomorrow or the day after, when your brain's fresh.
Yep.
That'll be great.
I'll be laddering again tomorrow, so definitely.
Awesome. Practice and memorize the new 2-base order. And part of that is going to be on ladder. It's okay if you fuck up. You know, basically accept. What I mean is,
it's an absolute certainty that that's going to happen.
You should lose your first 10 games because you're used to sitting in your corner of the map. You will fuck up your army move out so much when you start attacking with this because you're like, well, normally I sit here. Now I'm going to move. Are you just going to forget combat shields? You're going to walk into tanks without scanning or sending a stim marine ahead to scout. You're going to just like always attack into the Vikings and tanks for some reason when there's giant openings on the other bases. It's going to happen your first 5-10 games as long as you're spending your money. As long as you're getting your army out, you're like, oh, cool. It was 8 minutes when I moved out with 4 tanks, 40 Marines, 4 medevacs. So, benchmark so you can still see progress, okay?
All right.
So, what does that push look like? You know, 8 minutes, 40 Marines, 3 tanks, etc. 3 tanks, 4 medevacs, etc., etc.
I love having time. I love having timings like this to work with. These give me like so much more. Like having a goal is important to me.
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, especially when you're starting a build, because if you go into it without doing that, you haven't changed the goalposts. Whereas the default goalpost is the victory or defeat screen at the end of the game. And whenever you learn a new build or you change something drastically, you're always going to lose your first 5 or 10 games, if not more. And if you haven't changed the goalposts, you're going to feel really bad after the first one, or maybe a little bad. The second one, you'll feel quite bad. The third one, you'll be like, fucking hate myself. I can't win the game. I'm so shit. This build isn't even working. This new build's not even... This is my process anyway. When it's so funny when I catch myself. I'm like, dude, why am I so emo today? And I'm like, well, you're learning a new build and you expected yourself to win the first times playing it. And I'm like, oh, that's it? Okay, let's reframe how I'm thinking about this and actually go back to the Zen Garden, or in this case, the waterfall of clarity and happiness, which I've been trying to use to help make me nice and chill, instead of listening to Abatha raging behind me playing Lost Vikings on his stupid arcade machine all day.
Also, I've been meaning to ask now that I have you on the call. Were you always intending to have the Corsair logo as a hat for that zealot?
It didn't start that way. It actually started as a hat on a Mutalisk on one of my old backgrounds. By chance. Someone was like, oh my god, is that a Mutalisk hat? I was like, that is a Mutalisk hat. And now now whatever the background is, we tend to move it to be a hat or something. Unfortunately, there's no living creatures in my current background, so
feels like you could probably Photoshop in like a, I don't know, like a squirrel or
maybe like a little cuteling or something like that, just hanging out on the, having a little, like it's lapping up. Oh my god, I should so get a gif from Carbot of like the Zergling lapping up water and then just put it right on the edge.
Perfect. There you go.
Dude. That's a big brain idea.
That's a commission that I think chat can get behind. Some of those really generous souls out there in chat land that are just like, yeah, I love throwing I love throwing strangers money. Here you go. One of those people. You can get Carbot to make something very special just for Pig. I think that's a great idea.
I'm actually writing that down right now in my list of work to do. All right, thank you so much, everyone, for the support. Thanks, Maney. Good luck on the ladder. Yeah, baby steps, one step in front of the other. Focus on the process, and the results will come a few weeks or a few months from now. But have that patience. Let's meet up in a week or two. Oh, I forgot to ask. Are you free tomorrow? Are you doing the queue with Zombie Grub and Fear Dragon said they're down? Are you down? I know it's New Year's Eve, but it'll be morning time, so I'm not sure what your plans are New Year's Eve. I'm still going to be streaming as normal.
Okay. What time are we starting?
About 3 hours ago, usually. So like right around the start of your stream, normally 9:30 Adelaide time. Yeah.
Chalk me up for it.
All right, we'll play it by ear. We'll let it know. Yeah.
my streams when I do Timmy's are usually like super dead, so I try to do things that people actually like to see.
I'll be jetting right after it. So if it's the start of your stream, that'd be sick, and then we can raid you up hopefully, and you can do. Are you doing sub replays later today, or are you playing
Actually,
ladder?
no. I'm just gonna play more games.
Awesome.
Tomorrow will be the same deal. Just play
Awesome.
a lot.
All right, good luck on ladder, man. I'll send my viewers your way.
Oh, thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Have a good night, man.
All right, mate. You too. Take it easy.
Laters.
Peace.
Beautiful. All right, that was a good sesh. I'm really happy. Maney's like, hey, let's deconstruct that habit. Oh, I forgot to write it down. Don't leave games. That's the other big one. Practice fighting hard from behind in games that hit the fan. Okay? So we're trying to change that mindset. I'm going to actually put that up the top as well, because that's one that just carries across all games. Awesome. All right, sweet as. Thanks for hanging, guys. Go say hey to Maney. Please share some love. I want to say a huge thank you. You know, Verkwar, we had Nuke War, Aerial Ace. Lots of people supported today. Those are just a few. Anonymon, which is an anonymous person, I imagine. Thank you very much for hanging out, guys. I appreciate the support. I love you all. Good night. See you tomorrow.